Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Today, inshallah, we're going to solve Cambridge exam May-June 2023, paper 21. Let's start it. Question 1. The diagram shows the result of dropping purple crystal into water. Here we have the purple crystal. After a few hours, the solution turned to be purple. First, the purple crystals start to dissolve in the water surround the crystal. Then the color start to diffuse through the water until we have a purple solution. So the two processes here are first dissolving, then diffusing. Of course, both are physical processes, so there is no chemical reaction, and the answer will be D. Question 2. Which row about elements mixture compound is correct? From the first column, metallic element. Copper is a metallic element. Of course, brass is wrong. Brass is a mixture. It's an alloy. Non-metallic element. Here we have sulfur because methane is not an element. Methane is a compound. Mixture. Here we have brass is a mixture. And finally, compound. As we said, it's methane because sulfur is an element. For an answer to be correct, it has to be correct in the 4 columns. So the answer will be C. Copper is a metallic element. Sulfur is a non-metallic element. Brass is a mixture. And methane is a compound. Question 3. The atomic structure of 4 particles W, X, Y, and Z are shown. Which particles are isotopes of the same element? Isotopes have the same proton number but different neutrons. So here we have W and Y both have the same proton number, 2 protons but different neutrons. So W and Y are isotopes and the answer will be B. Question 4. Which statement explains why isotopes of the same elements have the same chemical properties? The answer is A, because they have the same number of outer shell electrons. Question 5. Nitrogen forms nitride ion with the formula N3-. Which particle doesn't have the same electronic configuration as nitride ion? Nitrogen is in group 5. It has 7 electrons with a configuration of 2,5. After gaining 3 electrons to form the nitride ion, the electronic configuration changed to be 2,8. Oxygen has electronic configuration of 2,6. It gains 2 electrons to form the negative ion. So the electronic configuration is changed to be 2,8, same like the nitride ion. Sodium has electronic configuration of 2,8,1. It loses 1 electron to form sodium positive ion. So the sodium positive ion has electronic configuration 2,8. It is the same as the nitride ion. Chlorine has electronic configuration 2,8,7. It gains 1 electron, so it will change into 2,8,8. This is a different configuration than the nitride ion, so the answer will be B. Also, aluminium ion has the same electronic configuration 2,8 after losing 3 electrons. So only chloride ion has a different electronic configuration. Question 6. Which row describes the formation of single covalent bond in methane? First, atoms share a pair of electrons. This is correct. Both atoms gain a noble gas electronic structure. This is also correct. So the answer is A. B is wrong because in the second column, both atoms have the same number of electrons in the outer shell. This is wrong because hydrogen has only 2 electrons in the outer shell after sharing with a carbon, and the carbon will have 8 electrons in the outer shell. C is wrong because electrons are transferred from one atom to another. This is wrong. This is a covalent bond, only sharing of electron, no transfer of electrons. And D is wrong because also electrons transfer from one atom to another. This is a wrong statement. 7. Which formula is an empirical formula? The empirical formula is the simplest whole number ratio of the molecular formula. So here, if a number cannot be simplified, so the empirical formula is the same as the molecular formula, or the formula shown is the empirical formula. So here we have the ratio 2, 4, 2, 1, 2 carbons, 4 hydrogen, only 1 oxygen. It cannot be simplified, so A is the empirical formula. Here The second one, B, is wrong because B can be simplified by dividing by 2. So it will be 2 carbons, 4 hydrogens, and 1 oxygen. Also, this formula in C can be simplified because it is the same, C4H8O2. It can be simplified again by dividing by 2. D also, it is C4H8O2, so it can be simplified. The only empirical formula that cannot be simplified is A. Question 8. Heating iron sulfide in air produces sulfur dioxide. What is the maximum mass of sulfur dioxide produced from 120 kilograms of iron sulfide? First, we will calculate the mass, the relative atomic mass of iron sulfide. It will be the mass of iron plus the mass of 2 sulfur atoms. It will be 120. Then the number of moles of iron sulfide will be the mass divided the molar mass. So the mass is 120 kilograms. 120,000 divide 120, which is the MR of iron sulfide. It will be 1000. Number of moles is 1000. Then from the ratio number of moles to iron sulfide to sulfur dioxide, the ratio is 4 to 8, or it is 1 to 2. That means the number of moles of sulfur dioxide is double the number of moles of iron sulfide. So the number of moles of sulfur dioxide will be 1000 times 2. It will be 2000. Then the mass of sulfur dioxide will be the number of moles times the relative molecular mass of sulfur dioxide. So it will be 2000 times 64, 128,000 grams, or 128 kilograms. So the answer will be B. Question 9. Which substance produce hydrogen and bromine from when electrolyzed? First, concentrated aqueous copper bromide. It will produce copper and bromine. Copper at the negative electrode and bromine at the positive electrode. Concentrated aqueous sodium bromide, of course, hydrogen will be produced at the negative electrode and bromine will be produced at the positive electrode. So the answer will be B. C is wrong because it is diluted potassium bromide, so oxygen will be produced at the positive electrode instead of bromine because the solution is diluted. And of course D is wrong because we have molten lead bromide, so there is no hydrogen. Lead will be produced at the negative electrode. Question 10. Which statement about hydrogen fuel cell are correct? Water is formed as only waste product. This is correct. Both water and carbon dioxide formed as waste products. No, carbon dioxide is not produced from the hydrogen fuel cell. This is wrong. And the overall reaction is 2 hydrogen react with oxygen to form 2 molecules of water. This is correct statement. The overall reaction is endothermic, of course. This is wrong because the reaction is exothermic. So we have only 1 and 3 correct answers, and the answer will be A. Question 11. Ethene, a gas, is completely burned in excess oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. The equation for the exothermic reaction as shown, and the table shows the bond energies involved in the reaction. So here to calculate, first to calculate the energy needed to break the bond, I draw the structure of ethene. We have 1 carbon-carbon double bond and 4 carbon-hydrogen bonds. We have 3 molecules of oxygen, each formed from a double bond between 2 oxygens. So we have 3 oxygen, double bond oxygen. That's why calculating the energy absorbed to break the bonds, 614 plus 4 times 413 plus 3 times 495, it will be 3751. Then to calculate the energy released when forming the product, we have 2 carbon dioxide, each one has 2 carbon oxygen double bond, so we will multiply this by 4. And we have 2 molecules of water. In each molecule we have 2 oxygen hydrogen bonds, so also we will multiply this by 4. So the energy released will be 5064. To calculate the delta H is the energy absorbed to break the bond minus the energy released. It will be minus 1313 kilojoule per mole, and the answer will be C. Question 12. Which row describes the effect on the activation energy and the frequency of particle collision when the temperature of a chemical reaction is increased? Of course, the increasing temperature will not affect the activation energy. It only increases the kinetic energy of the particles, so they will move faster and collide more frequent. So the answer will be B. No change in the activation energy, only the frequency of collision increase. Question 13. Solid copper 2 sulfate exists in two forms, anhydrous and hydrated copper sulfate. One of these forms is blue, which is of course the hydrated one, and the other is white. It is the anhydrous copper sulfate. The change between these two forms is reversible. As we can see, it can be returned back. What is the blue form? What is the name of the blue form? It is hydrated or it is the anhydrous. And how the change of from the blue to white is brought about. Okay, so we will go here. The blue form is the hydrated crystal, and it can be changed to white by heat, because heating will remove the water and it will turn to anhydrous crystal, so it will turn to white. So the answer is D. Question 14. Sodium ion and oxygen ion combine with chromium ion to form a salt. The salt of sodium dichromate has the formula Na2Cr2O7. What is the oxidation state of chromium ion in this salt? Sodium dichromate is an ionic compound, and as we know, the total or the net charge of the ionic compound is 0. So adding the charges of sodium ions and chromium ion and oxygen ion, we will have 0. We have two sodium ion, each one has 1 + 1 charge, so the 2 sodium has a total of +2. We have 7 oxygen, each one has a charge of -2, so the total charge of the oxygen would be -14. 7 times -2, and we have an unknown charge for chromium ion. We will give it X. We have 2 chromium, so it will be 2X. The sum of all these charges will be 0. So 2X equal to +12. That means 1X equal to +6. The charge or the oxidation state of chromium ion here is +6, and the answer is C. Question 15. The concentration of hydrogen ion in 100 cm³ of 0.1 mole per decimeter cube hydrochloric acid is higher than the concentration of hydrogen ion in the same volume and same concentration of ethanoic acid. This is because ethanoic acid is a weak acid, so it is partially dissociated and give low concentration of hydrogen ion, and the hydrochloric acid is a strong acid, completely ionized, so we will have high concentration of hydrogen ion. Which statement explains the difference in hydrogen ion concentration? Ethanoic acid is an organic acid. This is not the reason. Ethanoic acid has a lower pH than hydrochloric acid. Of course, this is wrong. Ethanoic acid is a weak acid, so it will have a higher pH. C is the correct statement. Ethanoic acid is partially dissociate because it's a weak acid, so it's only partially dissociate. And D is also wrong. Ethanoic acid is strong. We said that it is weak. So the correct answer is C. Question 16. Which oxide is classified as amphoteric oxide? Aluminium oxide is amphoteric, so the answer is A. Question 17. Which method produces a salt, copper 2 carbonate? Copper carbonate is insoluble salt, so it is prepared by mixing 2 solutions together to form a precipitate, prepared by precipitation. The correct answer here is B. Adding copper oxide to dilute sulfuric acid. Copper oxide is a base. It will react with sulfuric acid to produce copper sulfate, which is soluble salt. So now we have solution of copper sulfate. It will react with sodium carbonate solution to form a precipitate of copper carbonate. A is wrong because copper oxide will not dissolve in water, so it will not react with sodium carbonate. Add copper to dilute hydrochloric acid. C is also wrong. Copper will not react with hydrochloric acid because copper is less reactive than hydrogen, or it is below hydrogen in the reactivity series. D is also wrong. Copper oxide with excess sodium carbonate, there is no reaction or no precipitate. Question 18. Which statement about the trend across the period, a period in the periodic table are correct? Number 1, aluminium is more metallic than sodium. This is wrong because sodium is in group 1 and aluminium in group 3. Metallic characters increased to the left side, so sodium is more metallic. Beryllium is more metallic than carbon. This is correct because beryllium is a metal and carbon is in group 4. It's non-metal. Boron is more metallic than lithium. This is wrong. Lithium is in group 1 and boron is in group 3. So lithium is more metallic. 4, magnesium is more metallic than silicon. This is also correct statement because silicon is non-metal. So we have two correct statements, 2 and 4. So the answer will be C. Question 19. Some information about the elements in group 2 in the periodic table is shown. Here we have the element. Second column, we have the time taken to make 10 centimeter cube of hydrogen gas when 1 gram of metal is added to cold water. As we can see, the time decreases as we go down, so the reactivity increases as we go down. As the time decreases, that means the metal is more reactive. It will react with water in a shorter time, so the reactivity of group 2 metal decreases as we go down. Then for the density first decreases from 1.8, then 1.7, 1.5, then it increases again to 2.6. So we don't have a clear trend for group 2 density. No clear trend is shown. For the melting point, it is first 1280, it decreases to 600, then it increases again to 800, then decreases another time to 700. So we don't have clear trend for the melting point of group 2 elements. So the question is, which row shows the correct trend in reactivity, density, and melting point of the elements going down group 2 in the periodic table? For the reactivity increase as we go down the group, and density, melting point, we don't have a clear trend to show the melting point or the density of group 2 elements, so the answer is D. Question 20. A new element, oxfordium, has the symbol OX, was discovered and it has the following properties. Solubility, it is insoluble in water, doesn't conduct electricity. The formula of the element OX2, that means it is diatomic molecule. The bond in the molecule is a triple bond between the two atoms. In which group in the periodic table should the new element be placed? The new element form triple bond, that means each atom share 3 electrons to complete the outer shell to 8. That means this atom has 5 electrons in its outer shell. This element is in group 5 and the answer is B. Question 21. Which row describe a similarity and a difference between chlorine and bromine? Here the correct answer is D. Both react with aqueous potassium iodide because both chlorine and bromine are more reactive than iodine, so they will displace iodine from potassium iodide. Chlorine is more reactive than bromine. A is wrong because it said both are gases at room temperature and pressure. This is wrong. Bromine is a liquid. B is wrong because it said chlorine is more dense than bromine. This is wrong because chlorine is a gas and bromine is a liquid, so of course bromine is more dense. C is wrong because it said only bromine will react with aqueous sodium chloride. Bromine is less reactive than chlorine, so it will not react with sodium chloride. Question 22. Which statement describe transition element? Transition elements have high density and high melting point, so the answer is A. Question 23. Which gas is made when powdered zinc is added to dilute hydrochloric acid? This is the reaction between zinc and hydrochloric acid. Hydrogen gas produced, so the answer is C, hydrogen. Question 24. The diagram represents a structure of a solid. Which solid does the diagram represent? Of course, it is brass.
as it's a structure of solid metal with a different particle size, which is the mixture of alloy, and the brass is an alloy. So the only correct statement is B, where the structure is brass, it is not graphite or sodium chloride. Question 25. Steel is an alloy of iron. Which statement explains why steel is stronger than iron? The alloy is stronger because the carbon atom prevent the layers of iron atoms from sliding over each other. This is the correct statement describing why alloy is more hard than the original metal. Question 26. 3 students, X, Y, and Z, are told that the solid B react with dilute acid and also conduct electricity. The table shows the students' suggestions about the identity of solid B. X suggests that the element is copper, Y suggested that it is iron, and Z said it's graphite. Which student are correct? The only correct student is Y, because copper cannot react with dilute acid, or graphite. Although graphite can conduct electricity, but it will not react with dilute acid, so only iron can conduct electricity because it's a metal and it can react with dilute acids. Question 27. Which statement explains why aluminium appears to be unreactive? Aluminium appears to be unreactive because it has a protective layer of oxide on the surface. It is coated with an oxide layer of aluminium oxide. The answer is A. Question 28. During the electrolysis of aluminium oxide, the mass of the carbon anode changes. Which row describes the change, which row describes the change and gives a reason why this change happened? In electrolysis of aluminium oxide, we have 2 ions, aluminium ions and oxygen negative ions. So aluminium is attracted to the cathode and oxygen ions attracted to the anode, where they gain electron to they lose electron to form oxygen gas. And this oxygen react with carbon anode to produce carbon dioxide. So the mass of the anode decreases. So here the correct answer is A, the mass of the anode decrease because the carbon react to form carbon dioxide. It reacts with the oxygen gas produces at the anode. Question 29. Several processes are used to treat domestic water. Which row identify a reason for a given process? The first process, chlorination. Chlorination is used to kill bacteria, not for impurities. The second one, filtration, is used to remove insoluble solid. This is a correct statement, so the correct answer is B. Sedimentation, to remove soluble solids. This is wrong, of course. Soluble solid cannot be removed by sedimentation. And D is also wrong. What kills bacteria is the chlorination. So the only correct statement is B. Question 30. What is the equation of photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process where the plant uses carbon dioxide and water to produce glucose and oxygen. So the correct answer is B. Question 31. Which statement describes how the carbon-hydrogen bonds in the methane gas in the atmosphere contribute to the global warming? Here we have only one correct statement. Carbon and hydrogen bond in the methane. Methane is a greenhouse gas. It absorbs the thermal energy from the earth and emits some of this energy toward the earth. So the answer is D. Question 32. The structure formula of 2 hydrocarbons are shown. As we can see, both hydrocarbons have the same molecular formula, C4H8. Which statement about the hydrocarbon is correct? They are both alkenes. This is wrong because they are alkanes. From the general formula, we can know that they are alkane, CnH2n plus 2. They decolorize aqueous bromine. This is also wrong because alkene decolorizes aqueous bromine, but alkane cannot decolorize aqueous bromine. C, they are structural isomers. This is a correct statement because both have the same molecular formula but different structure, so they are isomer. D is also wrong. They undergo addition reactions. Alkane don't have any addition reactions. They only make substitution reaction. Question 33. The structural formula of compound Q is given. What is compound Q? As we can see, it's an ester. We have the ester linkage here. So let's check for the acid part. 1, 2, 3 carbon, so it's butanoic acid. And the alcohol part, 1, 2, 3 carbon, so it is propanol. The ester will be propyl butanoate, and the answer is C. Question 34. The fractional distillation of petroleum is shown. Which fraction contain hydrocarbon with the longest chain length? Here we have A, B, C, and D. D is at the bottom of the fractionating column. It has the longest chain length. It is more viscous and higher boiling point. So the answer will be D. Question 35. Which equation represents the cracking of an alkane? Equation D here represents cracking. Alkane, cracking of alkane is breaking down the long chain alkane to produce alkene plus a shorter chain alkane. So here we have the long chain alkane C6 is broken down into shorter chain alkene C2H4 and a shorter alkane C4H10. Question 36. What is the structure of the product of the reaction of propene with bromine? Here I draw the structure of propene. Prop means 3 carbons. In it has double bond. Adding bromine, we will break the double bond and the bromine will be added on 2 adjacent carbons. So we will have 1 bromine here and 1 bromine here. So the only correct formula will be C. Question 37. In a reaction R, 2000 molecules of ethene react to form a single molecule X only. So we have 2000 molecule of ethene react to give X. Which term describe the reaction R and ethene and X? Of course, this is an addition polymerization where 2000 molecules of ethene, which is the monomer, react to give one large molecule X, which is the polymer. So the correct statement here is A. It's an addition reaction where the monomer is ethene and the polymer is X. Question 38. Part of the structure of a polymer is shown. Which statement about the polymer are correct? Here we have 2 different monomers. Each one has 2 different function group, carboxylic group from the first end and amino group from the second end. So it's an amino acid. Each monomer is an amino acid. So it's not a nylon because nylon has similar function group from both sides. This one is a protein. The polymer is formed by condensation polymerization. This is correct. This is a condensation polymerization to form the amide linkage or the polyamide. There are ester linkage between the monomers. This is also wrong. It is not an ester linkage. It's amide linkage between the monomer. So the correct statement will be only 2 and the answer is C. Question 39. The concentration of the acid and the alkali can be determined by titration. Which pieces of equipment are needed to perform titration? Here we have the tools, the laboratory tools to choose. We will choose pipette for measuring the volume of the acid and a pipette to add the alkali in the flask. So 2 and 4 are correct tools and the answer is D. Question 40. Which chromatogram shows how the RF value of a substance is calculated? The RF value is calculated by measuring first the distance moved by the sample, then divided by the distance moved by the solvent. Here we have the distance moved by the solvent from the baseline till the solvent front. This is the distance moved by the solvent and the distance moved by the spot from the baseline till the middle of the spot. So the correct answer is B. Here we come to the end of our exam. Like the video and subscribe to the channel to receive all the updates. Comment down below if you have any questions. Thank you for watching. Wish you all best of luck.